All right, welcome back to the main stage here on Elmia Subcontractor 2022. It's time for another session up here. It's 2:30 and we will be going on for the next couple of hours as well. So a warm welcome to you guys sitting over here and a warm welcome to you that are watching this somewhere over this fair. But especially welcome to Johanna. And we have also Victor with us.
Thank you.
Johanna, tell us, where are you from?
Yeah, my name is Johanna Chaintrace. I'm director of EIT Manufacturing North, so the office based in Gothenburg, Sweden, and working with introducing innovation into industry, focusing on the Nordics and the Baltics.
Oh, wow, I'm going to learn more about that in the next couple of minutes. But Victor, and you?
I'm Victor Andersson, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Chaintrace. Chaintrace is a digital traceability platform focused mainly on the metal value chain. And you will hear more about that as well.
Yes, for the next 20-25 minutes. So the stage will be yours. We're going to put a focus on sustainable manufacturing, and that's a really hot topic right now. So go ahead, and a warm welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, I will start with an introduction of EIT manufacturing, and then we have some real case examples where Victor will take over. So, EIT, it's the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, focusing in many different areas. Manufacturing is one of the areas, and it was establishing 2.5 years ago in the middle of the COVID pandemic. EIT focuses on very high TRL levels and the last step of commercialization and validation of new solutions. So our vision is that the global manufacturing innovation should be led by Europe. And by doing that, we are focusing on some shared challenges that we have in Europe and the world. So the digital transformation, very important enabler for sustainability. And of course, companies have to be competitive, otherwise we will get nothing introduced and put to the market. So most of the things that we do are focused around one of these 4 topic areas, the flagships that we have. So we're working with flexible production and digital solutions, the low environmental footprint, and human-machine co-working. The low environmental footprint and sustainability, of course, is one of our main areas here. We are based all over Europe. We've divided Europe into these 6 regions. From Gothenburg in Sweden, we are covering the North region, so it's the Nordic, Baltics, and the UK, if and when the UK will sign an agreement with the EU. So we don't have a lot of activities in the UK at the moment. And then you can also see the rest of the regions in Europe. So we are focusing on these different regions to be close to the ecosystem, to the local ecosystem. And then we are collaborating with the rest of the regions very closely. So it's a great opportunity if you want to get in contact with companies, universities, startups from other parts of Europe as well. We do have a partnership. We have almost 80 members. You can see here that half of the membership is from industry and the rest from universities and research organizations. And this is this balance is what we absolutely want to keep, because we want our agenda to be led by the industrial needs. And the way that we work is that we we are connecting these different areas of education, innovation, and business creation. We see that there is a lot of need for upskilling in industry, especially with battery production and more batteries. With batteries comes a big need of electricity knowledge that is not too common in manufacturing industry in general. We do fund collaborative projects, especially with the focus of education and with innovation focus. And matchmaking, so connecting people to the right, someone with a challenge to someone with a solution. And we are supporting startups. And we do have a very large focus on sustainability. It's absolutely necessary to add sustainability to the price, time, and quality triangle. And we really want to encourage collaboration and start conversations around sustainability. And just some real cases from the value chain, what we do. So typically, in an innovation project, we see that we have research from universities or institutes, and we have end users. We have industry with a need that can verify a solution that can either be a result of the project work, or the whole project can be centered around a startup or an SME with a solution. And then this solution will get verified and ready for commercialization within the project. And we actively want to have the solution sold and really commercialized within the scope of the project. So it's very high TRL levels that we work with. Another example of a project is for recycling of batteries, where Norsk Hydro is involved with their recycling of batteries. And they, as we heard in the previous talk, are working closely with Northvolt for the battery recycling. Another way we have of supporting startups, or both startups and large companies, we're collecting challenges from large companies, and then we post this and we ask startups to come with solutions. And this is what Chaintrace did last year, I believe it was. They answered to a challenge from First Alpine. Chaintrace won this competition, and then established collaboration with First Alpine and got some funding from EIT Manufacturing to do this. And since then, we have been working with Chaintrace within EIT Manufacturing, and we're also in a project called Digitala Stambanan, which is a national project from Vinnova. So it's really nice to have Chaintrace here, and also Chaintrace is a great example of how to make manufacturing sustainable.
Thank you very much,
I hand over
Johanna.
to Victor here.
I think from our perspective as well, working with EIT, I won't say so much about that, but it will become quite obvious. I think the great part, we have the same ambition. Like sustainability, of course, is a must, and the way there is collaboration. We believe very much in that as well. So I think that is a great, for us, it's a great opportunity to work for it, for example, EIT Manufacturing. And what are we doing then at Chaintrace? How do we do great products even better? That is, we believe very much in making them more sustainable and even more secure than they are already today. And as I said, we are a traceability platform focusing on metallic value chain. So basically transferring data all the way through raw material to end consumer. And looking at the need, why do we need traceability today, especially when it comes to reducing the CO2 emissions? Climate targets is quite high. I'll say many corporates have quite aggressive climate targets. Many corporates want to have a net zero value chain by 2050. That seems like a long way from here, but actually looking at many supply chains, they are huge. So they need to start today basically understanding better for their particular value chains, what is the emissions coming from my particular value chain. It's not good enough anymore with generalized database data for CO2 data. You actually need to understand your particular value chain in order to prioritize actions to get as fast as possible to a net zero value chain. So that is the main, how to say, need we see in the manufacturing industry. And looking at this, of course, one way is, as I mentioned, basically the end consumers and the end producers, the major OEMs, they see this need, improve visibility to increase the, how to say, accelerate the journey to net zero value chains. But of course, we need to consider all the parties in this value chain. It's not good enough with a solution that only serves the purpose of the OEMs, because it will be impossible to implement it if it doesn't give benefits for all the parties in the value chain. So looking at the other end, also usually quite big companies with quite some resources to invest in IT solutions and digitalization solutions is the steel makers. And of course, especially in Nordics and in Europe, there's huge investments in green steel. And this will, of course, improve the business case in order for their products, basically. Because if the consumer can't tell the difference between green steel products and, say, normal steel products, no one will be able to pay the difference what is needed for this investment. So that is basically their main incentives. And then, of course, looking at the number of companies in this value chain, I would say at least 80% is in the mid-segment. Of course, they will have requirements from the OEMs to provide data, and from the steel makers, they are the enablers for them. They need to provide the data in a digitalized format. And here's where we're working quite much with them to make it easy for the mid-segment to transfer the data all the way through the value chain. And here, the mid-segment we see as a crucial part to succeed with this. And now what are we in Chaintrace doing in this value chain to improve the traceability? I would say it's mainly three parts. One is, of course, the digital representation or the digital product passport, going all the way through on product or transactional level. And then we're also having quite some support, particularly for the SME segment, internal tools, how to make this easier, but then accurately but quick, so to say, to get data and to facilitate the process. And then the third part is when we have a lot of data and we standardize the data for the metallic value chain, then we can compare much, much better, and we can really understand where should we improve our value chain to optimize it end-to-end, because we have a standardized data set for this particular value chain. So that is the core part of what we are doing. And looking more in details on the CO2 offering we have, then it's more about basically in more practice. We facilitate the collection of data, the first step. We help manage, particularly for the SME segment, managing their internal data sets to make the CO2 calculation much, much more dynamic. Whenever one supplier provides a new data set, it's updated total footprint. So it will be more and more dynamic data on the products for CO2. Compared to today's way of doing LCAs, it usually takes a big project to do it, and then it takes 1 to 5 years to update it, so it doesn't really reflect what is actually happening because in real time. And the third, and I believe the most important part, is to visualize that, to drive improved collaboration through the value chain, to together work where should we put the efforts in order to reduce CO2 throughout the whole value chain. And what we believe is needed in this journey, except from a digital tool, because that is just one of the enablers, is of course to empower the SME segment, upskill them, provide tools to make it easy, but accurate to do this. We can't afford for everyone to do full-blown LCA analysis on each and every product number is just impossible because the competence is not there to do this. We don't have enough resources, basically. So we need to start now to do it easier but accurate for the SME segment. The other one is, of course, to improve collaboration. EIT is one good example of that. Digitala stambanor is another good example for that. We need to improve collaboration over the value chain and dare to share data and improve, basically through industry associations and innovation forums. And the third, which is an important enabler, is, of course, there need to be standardized way of transferring this data through the value chain. We are one enabler. Of course, there will grow other traceability solutions. We need to make sure that all the solutions can communicate with each other. We can't lock in data. No one else should be able to lock in data. We should be able to communicate seamlessly over the value chain. So these kind of digital standards also need to grow and come in place, basically. That was all for me, and it was a bit high level of what we're doing, but we are also in tech arena if you want to have more very concrete cases on how we solve this and how we've already been solving this for some clients today. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a very good overview of one thing that is needed to do in order to get sustainable manufacturing. Another thing is that we have a social network and open innovation platform called Agora. If you scan that QR code, you will come to the entry page of that one. And actually today we're opening a new sphere on Agora with a sustainability focus called Green and Circular. So that we can start having conversations, collaboration, get ideas, showcase very good solutions, and we would very much like to showcase Chaintrace's solution on this platform.
I think that's great, and I can also add that is where we have found our collaboration quite much also in the open innovation in Agora, basically, to discuss with the bigger crowd of enterprise companies and also other startups. So I could just enforce it's a good platform, and I encourage everyone to, the more the better, I think.
And you're now in an application with some large companies to get your solution verified.
Yes.
At another level,
or more reaching out bigger, I would say. We've done quite a few pilots, and the technology is there. Now it's more bigger adoption through the value chain, and that is also a very good opportunity, I think, for us. So we managed to get from that network 4 major players, basically, that we hope to scale up with. So it's a good kickstart for us, and it's a good kickstart for the industry as well, to have that finance, basically, to get a kickstart on implementation or something like that.
Yeah, one good thing about the projects that we support is that the large companies can work with small companies without having the trouble of paying small companies. Not that necessarily the money is a problem, but we all know how troublesome it could be if you're not already a supplier to a large company to get into their payroll.
Yeah, and also it's a good way, I think, to exchange experience throughout the project. If you're doing it alone as a company, or basically that we see, even if we have it through an innovation project, or if a commercial player is paying us, we always encourage to involve more parties from the supply chain, because we believe that is as important as or more important than the digital solution, is to understand what is the readiness of the supply chain, what can we do together, and make it a very concrete baseline. Where are we today? How can we get forward? And that is just one way to do it with these projects, is if you also have your peers or potentially competitors as well to discuss these questions. It's much more, it improves the chances that it's actually going to happen, if I put it that way.
And the EIT manufacturing calls are open for everyone. There will be a new one during the spring sometime. And you're all welcome to collaborate with us. thank you very much for listening. If there are any questions, we would be happy to take them.
Thank you.